Happy New Year, everyone, and welcome back to 2017. Hope you had a lovely break with your friends and family. I know Matt, the girls, and I certainly did. And in fact, in the second week, we were wondering if break was ever going to end. But of course, loving every minute of it at the same time. Hey, I don't know if you know this, but the administrative team and I are getting ready. Well, many members of the team and I are getting ready for a conference with the one and only John Hattie next month. And in order to prepare, we are reading an exciting book by John Hattie called Visible Learning and the Science of How We Learn. So I thought for my update this month, I would share with you just a few of the interesting things that I've learned so far. And then, of course, if you're interested in reading more, all of the administrators have this book and they would be happy to loan it to you, I'm sure, or make copies of various chapters. So today, I just wanted to highlight 6 principles of learning that I have learned. This is from chapter 13 in the book. And these are applicable to all of us. So to kids, but also to all adults. Really fascinating stuff. And so there are 6 significant principles. The first is learning requires time, effort, and motivation. To be skillful in a new area takes about 50 to 100 hours of practice with a genius expertise in the 10,000 hour range. So he really debunks the myth that people are just naturally good at things, that it really comes down to practice. An earlier chapter talks about this as well. So 50 to 100 hours to become skillful in a new area is typical for all of us. Number 2, concentration spans are short. In fact, most of us have a natural attention span of only 15 to 20 minutes. So of course, a shorter span for younger kids, but for adults and our junior high learners, 15 to 20 minutes before our minds wander, which means that distributive practice is more effective than prolonged practice. So blocks of 15 to 20 minutes of learning over more sessions versus like one long 1 hour session or 2 hour session is going to be better for our knowledge acquisition for our brains and learning. Number 4, you all already know this, but prior knowledge is critical. So overviews of what is going to be learned and demonstrations of success criteria and modeling prior to learning is actually crucial for our brain's ability to, they say, apply coat hangers to be able to connect new learning to old learning, and that's how we learn, is through those connections. Number 5, we are all multimodal learners. So that whole concept of being a visual learner versus an auditory learner really has been debunked. We could be all of those things, but in fact, we are all of those things. We learn best if we experience learning in multiple modalities. So we get all of those things, just not one exposure. The combo platter. And then finally, number 6, to learn, your mind has to be active. So if the experience is not meaningful for your brain doesn't respond in a way that allows learning. So we really have to think about what learning experiences for us and for students will be truly meaningful so that our brain works in the way that we want to. So there's much more. Those are just the top 6 in how we learn and learning acquisition. On the other, or another interesting topic I've learned is on the topic of multitasking. I know that we ladies, and many of us here are ladies, love to talk about our multitasking powers, and I'm afraid that myth has been debunked in that your conscious brain cannot multitask. So interesting quote from Deepak Chopra, who's a leading mind, body, spirit guru. He's also a medical doctor. But he says, your conscious brain cannot multitask. If I'm speaking to you and checking my phone at the same time, I'm doing neither. This is why our society is frazzled, this misconception that we can consciously do more than one thing at a time effectively. So really interesting quote, and I think something for us to reflect upon, especially in this January where we have a mostly meeting-free situation, and then moving forward in really trying to be more consciously available to our students and say no to all lots of great things, but we really, to do things well, we need to be able to do one thing well at a time and not be in this constant state of more is better. So happy January again, and hope you are having a great week.